From the 4 armed bartenders right down to the costumes, Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania made me feel like I was watching a Star Wars movie. And boy, am I glad I wasn't the only one. Seriously, I was even afraid to say, but as it turns out, most of you probably felt the same way. So the director Peyton Reed just had to respond to these comparisons, and he did. Reed thinks that it's completely unavoidable to dodge these comparisons when you're making a sci-fi movie.
It's a secret universe beneath ours. What are you so afraid of? There's something I never told you.
He admits that the Star Wars franchise did kind of inspire him in this world building because he used to be a huge fan of it as a kid. The 58-year-old director said that Star Wars was just one of several inspirations he took when making Quantumania. Flash Gordon, Alien, and Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy all played big roles in creating the quantum realm. He also revealed that he had artists coming in from all over the world to work on this project, and he told them that he wanted to create something unique.
Let me make this easy for you. You will bring me what I need, or everything you call a life will end.
Something that we haven't seen in the MCU before. A world completely different from the ones shown in Thor or Guardians of the Galaxy. But you know what? I think they were just being lazy. I understand trying to take inspiration from something, but copy-pasting entire characters or sets is nothing but lazy. The question is, does it count when you copy your own homework? You see, both Marvel and Lucasfilm are owned by Disney, so they're not going to exactly sue themselves for this. What's more is that Reed is also part of both studios. He directed 3 episodes in the 2nd season of the Star Wars spin-off series, The Mandalorian, which is beautifully written, designed, and directed. But I guess it kinda makes it easier for him to take inspiration from them. Sure, his work on The Mandalorian was great. What better place to draw inspiration from? The Mandalorian was original. It was fresh.
Was I doing something wrong, officer?
You're not allowed to fly that fast next to a commercial ship.
You're also operating without a beacon. I'm gonna need you to run one for us.
Sorry, officer, I got a little carried away there. Transmitting now.
But Quantumania, on the other hand, wasn't either of those things. I mean, just look at a shot in the city of Chronopolis in Ant-Man, and tell me it doesn't remind you of Coruscant in Star Wars. Kang gathering his troops is exactly how the Stormtrooper units used to gather. I even feel like they used some of the same costumes from the Star Wars wardrobe. The scene where Hank and Janet are walking around in those weird goggles? Tell me you've never seen them before. And that bartender scene, like we've all seen that at least twice before. The first time in A New Hope, and then in The Mandalorian. Both times it showed a cantina where the protagonist went to ask around for some information. Yeah, I know that happens a lot in the movies, so I'll just let this one slide, but you can't deny the rest of it all just felt weird. And it all wouldn't have stood out so much if the plot was good, which it wasn't. The story was mediocre at best. Now, by no means am I saying this was a bad movie. I think it was a very enjoyable 2-hour watch that you're probably only going to watch once.
Cassie, 911.
That's my daughter. I need to text her back.
No, that's not happening.
It's 911. That means it's an emergency.
You're not making demands here, Lang. You're not appreciating the gravity of the...
Compare that to the first Iron Man film or Captain America Civil War. I don't even remember how many times I must have watched those two. But here's the thing, they were great movies. Why? Because they marked the beginning of Marvel's Phase 1 and 3, so they had to be extraordinary so that Kevin Feige and company can build up the rest of the story from there. Quantumania officially begins MCU's Phase 5, and it didn't even come close to either one of them. Sure, you can go and watch it once, but tell me, would you watch it again after 5 years? I know I wouldn't. There was no emotional attachment anywhere in the movie. And as morbid as it sounds, I don't know, maybe they should have killed someone off. I think it would have helped the audience build a relationship with the characters. And no, MODOK doesn't count. They butchered the character in the first place. In the comics, he's one of the most notorious villains, and here he was a little more than a joke. They introduced him in the movie and killed him off in less than 2 hours. A character like that could have been used so much better than a secondary antagonist, and his death scene was just pure cringe. Either make it funny or make it emotional, but make up your mind about it. They just left it somewhere in the middle, which made it unbearable for all the wrong reasons. A lot of fans really thought either Hank or Janet, or maybe even both of them, might bite the bullet. I mean, they don't really contribute much to the story after a certain point. Janet has a little history with Kang, and Hank just brings in his ant cavalry, but that's about it. So why not just make room for someone younger to step in and take up more of the screen time? And I honestly wanted more of Cassie Lang in the movie. She was the one refreshing character that I thought could be the one to watch out for, and I thought that they would pass her the torch to the front line of the next generation of Avengers. She's smart, resourceful, and does her own thing. Hell, I was even ready for Scott to die so that she could take a more central role. And really, think about it. Catherine Newton would have been a great fit on screen alongside Tom Holland's Spider-Man. Marvel may have passed up an opportunity here, even if they didn't want to kill off Scott like that. They could have just left him in the quantum realm alongside Hope. The two of them could have helped the people there rebuild their world after Kang had laid waste to it for years. And the filmmakers would have always had the chance to bring Scott back whenever they needed him, like if these young Avengers needed guidance or something. But to be honest, I think even Rocket Raccoon would be more valuable there. They never really developed Scott's character. I mean, he's the same smiling, goofy guy he was in the very beginning. They didn't give him any arc, no true nemesis, and he still seems to be living in the shadow of the original Ant-Man, Hank Pym. With Paul Rudd's charisma and charm on screen, they could have done so much to bring out the true Avenger in him. Like, even with the probability storm scene, they could have done so much more, I feel. But now it's too late. Despite all the things not to like about the movie, I think the lead actors did an amazing job with what they were given to work with. Cassie performed brilliantly, and Rudd is always going to be a classic. Anthony Majors was also a delightful surprise to many fans. Like, we really didn't get to see much of him in Loki Season 1. His ability to switch from being empathetic and caring to cold and calculating the very next was just amazing to watch. And even though he showed a glimpse of it, I'd love to watch how he plays all of Kang's variants in the future. I really hope Marvel realizes what it was they did to make us fall in love with it in the first place. They don't have to copy other franchises. They have plenty of source material to work with themselves. That's all about Quantumania's comparisons with Star Wars.